Hello, my name is Tammy Ajibade, and today I'll be reading chapter 14 of The Witch of Blackbird Pond. After the keen still days of September, the October sun filled the world with mellow warmth. Before Kit's eyes, a miracle took place, for which she was totally unprepared. She stood in the doorway of her uncle's house and held her breath with wonder. The maple tree in front of the doorstep burned like a gigantic red torch. The oaks along the roadway glowed yellow and bronze. The fields stretched like a carpet of jewels, emeralds, and topaz and garnet. Everywhere she walked, the colors shouted and sang around her. The dried brown leaves crackled beneath her feet and gave off a delicious smoky fragrance. No one had ever told her about autumn in New England. The excitement of it beat in her blood. Every morning she woke up with a new confidence and buoyancy she could not explain. In October, any wonderful, unexpected thing might be possible. As the days grew shorter and colder, this new sense of expectancy increased, and her heightened awareness seemed to give new significance to every common thing around her. Otherwise, she might have overlooked a small scene that once noticed she would never entirely forget. Going through the shed door one morning, her arms full of linens to spread on the grass, Kit halted, wary as always at the sight of her uncle. He was standing not far from the house, looking out toward the river, his face half turned from her. He did not notice her. He simply stood idle for one rare moment, staring at the golden fields. The flaming color was dimmed now. Great masses of curled brown leaves lay tangled in the dried grass, and the branches that thrust against the graying sky were almost bare. As Kit watched, her uncle bent slowly and scooped up a handful of brown dirt from the garden patch at his feet, and stood holding it with a curious reverence, as though it were some priceless substance. As it crumpled through his fingers, his hands convulsed in a sudden passionate gesture. Kit backed through the door and closed it softly. She felt as though she had eavesdropped. Though she had hated and feared her uncle for long, why did it suddenly hurt to think of a lonely, defiant creature in the garden? Judith's voice interrupted her groping thoughts. "Hurry up, Kit," she called. "That's the third group of people that have gone past the house. They say there's a trader ship coming up the river. If we finish up washing, we can watch it come in." Kit's heart leaped. "What ship? What does that matter? It will bring mail and perhaps some new bolts of cloth, and maybe the skeizers we ordered from Boston. Anyway, it's fun to see a ship come in, and there won't be many more this fall." An odd confusion, half eagerness and half reluctance tossed Kit's spirit to and fro. She was minded to stay at home and help Mercy, even as her feet hurried her along the path beside Judith. But the moment they rounded the bend in the road, she forgot her uncertainty. There was the Dolphin coming up in the river with all her sails. The curving tail of the prow was chipped and dull. The hull was battered with knobby with barnacles. The canvas dark and weathered, yet how beautiful she was. In a surge of memories, Kit could almost feel the deck lifting beneath her feet, and a longing, almost like homesickness, caught at her throat. How she would love to sail the Dolphin again. Forgotten was the smell of horses, the motionless waiting, the sudden terror of gale and lightning. She remembered only the endless shining reaches of the water that stretched to the end of the world, the vast arc of Milky Way, and the scorning rush of salt wind that blew back her hair. What would she give to stand on the deck of the Dolphin, facing down the river toward the open sea and Barbados? The Dolphin rounded too. Her topsails were furled, and great creaking of lines and shudder of canvas. She came to rest alongside the Wethersfield dock. The onlookers crowded forward as bales and barrels and knobby bundles were passed over the side into their eager hands. Kit and Judith stood a little aside, enjoying the bustling scene. The excitement of the crowd seemed to be contagious. When Judith spoke, Kit was surprised to find that her own lips were strangely unmanageable. A queer trembling made her clench her fist tight, She could not turn her eyes away from the deck of the ship. At last she glimpsed a fair head emerging from the hatchway, almost hidden behind a vast load. It was some time before Nat Eaton, carelessly scanning the busy wharf, caught sight of her. Then he raised one hand in the briefest possible greeting. Kit knew how Nat could be when he was absorbed in the ship's business. She waited, pretending an interest in each bit of cargo that came over the rail. Gradually, the citizens of Wethersfield claimed their orders, and the merchants from Hartford counted of the barrels, nails, and oils and salts, and only a handful of idlers still stood about. "Come on, Kit," urged Judith. "There's nothing more to see." No, Kit had to agree. There was not the slightest excuse for lingering further. With a little shrug, she turned away, and immediately she heard his voice. "Mistress Tyler! Wait a moment." She whirled back to see Nat bounding over the rail. He came toward her with his light, buoyant step, carrying under him a bulky package wrapped in a bit of sailcloth. "Good day to you, Mistress Wood," he greeted Judith respectfully. Then he turned to Kit. "Will you be kind enough to deliver a bit of cargo for me?" The words were acceptable enough. It was the indifferent tone that was bewildering. "'Tis a length of wooden cloth I picked up for Hannah," he explained, holding it out the package. Kit took it reluctantly. "She'll be waiting for you to come back to yourself." "I know, but it is my father is anxious to be off. Lose this wind and will be delayed there for days. Hannah might need this, if you can spare the time from your fashionable friends." Kit's mouth opened, but before she could speak, he went on. "An interesting cargo we had this trip, one item in particular. 16 diamond pan windows ordered from England by one William Ashby. They say he's building a house for his bride, a hoity-toity young lady from Barbados. I hear the best is none too good for her. No oiled paper in her windows, no indeed." She was taken aback by the biting mockery in his voice. "You might have mentioned it, Kit," he said, lowering his voice. There's nothing definite to tell. That order looks definite enough." While she searched for something to say, she knew that his eyes had not missed the hot surge she could feel sweeping up from one collar of her cloak to the hood of her forehead. "May I congratulate you?" he said. "To think, I was worried about that little bird. I might have known it would gobble up a nice fat partridge in no time." There was a quick bow to Judith. He was gone. "What bird? What was he talking about?" panted Judith, breathlessly, keeping up with Kit's sudden haste. Her head turned away to hide her angry tears. Kit did not answer. "Honestly, Kit, how do you know the oddest people? How did you ever meet a common riverman like that? I told you, he was the captain's son." "Well, I certainly don't think much of his manners," observed Judith. To Kit's relief, a distraction awaited them at home. Rachel stood in the doorway, peering anxiously up the road. "I declare," she fretted, "there is no peace for poor man. Someone came to fetch him just now, said a rider came out from Hartford with news this morning, and there's a great crowd at the blacksmith shop. Can you see anything up the road, Judith?" "No," said Judith. "The square seems quite quiet." "I think it has something to do with that Governor Andros of Massachusetts, the one who is determined to take the charter away. Oh dear, your father will be upset." "Then let's get him a good dinner," suggested Judith practically. "Don't worry, Mother. The men can take care of the government." Following them into the house, Kit felt grateful for the unpopular Andros. Whatever he had done, he had saved her, for the moment at least, from any more of Judith's questions. Matthew Wood did not come home for the good meal they had made ready. Late in the afternoon, he came slowly into the kitchen. His shoulders sagged and he looked ill. "What is it, Matthew?" Rachel hovered over his chair. "Has something terrible happened?" "Only what we have expected," he answered wearily. "Governor Treat and the council have wandered off nearly a year. Now Sir Edmund Andros has sent word, 3 days since, that he is setting out from Boston. He will arrive in Hartford on Monday to take over as royal governor in Connecticut. Lay a fire in the company room, he added. There are some who will want to talk tonight. One other chance bit of news reached them before nightfall. For all his haste, Captain Eaton missed the wind after all, and the Dolphin, lay beclaimed just off Rice Island. Kit took a revengeful pleasure in the thought. She hoped they had a good long wait ahead of them. It would serve Knight right if they sat there till ice set in. He might perfectly well have delivered his own package. She would make very sure of one thing. She would take care not to deliver it herself till the Dolphin was well on its way towards Saybrook.